All right, so this video is going to really build on the last couple videos that I made. First, I made a series, three-part series about rewiring, reprogramming yourself, shifting your identity, rewiring the brain. And the last two videos were more about energy, how to take our power back, how to control energy, and therefore manipulate reality. But I think this one is really going to drive everything home. And this is like the most subtle thing that you could ever think of. But it's going to unlock a huge amount of power and freedom for you. So we're going to talk about why silence is the really the gateway to mental freedom, freeing ourselves from suffering, and how we can use it to unlock higher consciousness. And I'm not talking about the kind of silence like shutting up and not talking anymore. I'm talking about internal silence, overcoming mental chatter. This video, I think, will help you overcome anxiety and depression. If you are a chronic overthinker, a chronic worrier, you get consumed by stress. Before I move forward, I just want to say this video was inspired by an amazing book that I found. I don't know if you can see it, but it's called Getting There Without Drugs. Amazing title, amazing book by Burl Payne. In this presentation, I'm going to use some of the exercises I found in this book. So I'm not going to talk too much more about it, but definitely amazing book. Check it out. It really bashed the barriers of my mind. All right. So first we got to talk about what is mental chatter. Okay. And it is really a constant stream of thoughts. It's an internal dialogue or our self talk that is always labeling things, always trying to explain things. And it also wants to keep us safe. Our mental chatter is often tied to the past, so past memories, regrets, things that we should have done, or it's tied to the future, planning for the future, worrying about the future, or fantasizing about the future, or it's tied to our self image, fitting into society, how we think we're being perceived, internal criticism, comparing ourselves to others, all that stuff. It's basically like having a radio station playing in your head 24/7, whether you want it to or not, whether it helps you or not. And most of the time, if we don't learn how to control our awareness, control our focus, and ascend our mental chatter, then it's going to be tearing us down and it's going to be controlling us. We spend a lot of time, and this is what Burl Payne talked about in the book. I love this. He called it if tripping. Our body might be in the present, but we are busy living somewhere else in some other universe in the future, worrying about what if this happens? What if that happens? If tripping. We're tripping on what could be, but really that doesn't exist. All that exists is right now. And really, the part of our brain that is responsible for mental chatter is the default mode network. And it's the part of our mind that is conditioned. You know, it's a buildup of memories, of beliefs, of learned associations we have made throughout our life. If you're getting spiritual, you could call it the ego. Not in like an arrogant sense, ego, but like the narrator self that constantly defines and defends our identity or what we know. But the issue is that we identify with everything that our mind tells us. Our mental chatter, what our mind produces, is not really us. It's just like a function of our mind. Just like digestion is a function of our stomach, it's the same thing. If we're talking about in terms of survival, like it makes sense why we have mental chatter. It helps us predict and prepare. You know, thinking about the future in the past helped us anticipate threats, and it helped us learn from the past and remember dangers that we came across so we didn't do them again. And it also helped us to fit into society, to maintain social standing because belonging to a tribe meant survival. The issue is, though, in modern day, the mind just doesn't stop this process because we're safe. It doesn't really know that we're safe. Today, it's freaking overactive. We're constantly bombarded with all this stimulus, reading emails, reacting to whatever we see on social media, you know, being in traffic, or we're imagining scenarios in our head as if they're actual threats. And so, really, it's cool, it keeps us safe, but most of the time today, we don't need it. And most of the time, it holds us back. It creates artificial limits. And it really keeps us from the truth. Only when the mind is still, tranquil, not expecting or grasping or resisting a single thing, is it possible to see what is true. It is the truth that liberates, not your effort to be free. It is only when the mind is free from the old that it meets everything anew, and in that there is joy. So, another quote that I love is, thought is the expression of experience. It is not actual experiencing. Now, the thing is, we can be aware of a thought. We can basically know that we are thinking, which means that we are not, our essence, the true version of us at the root, is not the thought itself. We are not the thought. When you identify with everything your mind is chattering on about, you feel trapped. But when you just settle in and observe as the awareness behind your thoughts, above your mind, the chatter loses its grip on us. So then we got to talk about what the hell consciousness is. I know that I sense, therefore I am conscious. Most of the time, our consciousness or our awareness of reality is at such a low rate because of our mental chatter. It keeps us trapped in the past, clinging on to what we think we know, and so we're not actually aware of probably 95% of what is actually happening in reality. We're wrapped up in our own problems. We're wrapped up in our stresses. When we become aware of the fact that we are not the thought, but we are the thinker, that we can control our thoughts and control, like I've talked about in many previous videos, our reaction to our thoughts. When we can choose to not feed into them, that's the first step to unlocking higher consciousness or higher power. So I want you to try this exercise. And this is from the book, all right? So just take a seat, close your eyes. And I was doing this outside, so there was a lot of different things to be aware of, but close your eyes and say to yourself what you are immediately aware of right now. So I was outside, my awareness fluttered to, now I'm aware of birds. Now I'm aware of cars going by. Now I'm aware of my breathing. Now I'm aware of the wind. And so just sit down and do this for 1 minute. You'll notice that your consciousness, or what you're aware of right now, it flutters very fast. From the sensory input from the outside world to becoming aware of it in our internal world, and then quickly moving on to another sensory input. And you're going to start to become aware of what your mind is actually doing. Or when you're out for a walk or something, you can do the now I am aware of blank exercise and just watch how you'll be fully in your environment for a second. Then your focus will get lost somewhere far away from where you actually are, in another universe, in the past or the future. And then a strong sensory perception will like knock you back into the present. Just start observing what's going on. Another great exercise from the book was simply just focus on the second hand of a clock or watch for 1 full minute. Can you keep your focus fully on the second hand? Focusing on our breathing, because the breath is a great anchor for our attention in the present, plus doing the now I am aware exercise helps us to stay in the now longer. Why do we want to stay in the now? Obviously, we can't suffer if we're there, but we shift viewpoints from just me as an isolated being from the rest of nature, from the rest of the universe, to now I am a part of everything and I am connected with everything in existence. So that is the first step. If we want to get into what this reality actually is, and we talked about it a little bit in the last couple of videos, but I'm going to start by reading this quote. The one thing we can say about fundamental matter is that it is vibrating, and since all vibrations are theoretically sound, then it is not unreasonable to suggest that the universe is music and should be perceived as such. I mean, even if you're talking about our vocal cords, they're essentially an instrument, and the vibrations that they create influence the world around us. You also got like the eardrum. Like these are tools of sound, natural tools of sound. And everything in the universe is made up of atoms. And these atoms are all vibrating in waves. So what we hear as sound is just a lot slower vibrating atoms than what we see as light. Light is very, very highly vibrating. Sound is slower, but at the root, it's the same. And if we achieve a state of inner silence, we open ourselves up to really listening to the universe. Even if you look at the piano, everything in the universe, it's like one song. Every little part is singing its own variation and it creates one symphony, one orchestra. So all this reality is. This microphone is the same thing as me. We're both vibrating atoms. It's just this is going at a different rate than me, okay? And you start to get into associations like colors are associated, are correlated with a musical note. And we see that when we look at this chart right here. You start to see how everything is connected. A chakra in our body resonates with a certain element and a color and a planet and a crystal and a music note, even the days of the week. Like the fan going right now, it is playing a certain tone. Like you can pick it up. It could be in C or D if you know anything about piano. The bird outside chirping, it's a certain musical note. A car going, it's in a certain tone. Like this shit is all sound. And the waves operate, we've all heard of the sine wave, right? Calc in high school, pre-calc, calc. Every single wave is oscillating from the positive side to equilibrium down to the negative side. Positive, negative, positive, negative. In the last video, we talked about the law of polarity, that positive and negative are an inherent part of the universe. And this is it right here. The characteristics of how atoms move in waves affects everything in existence. This is why everything has trade-offs. This is why there are multiple ripple effects to one action. This is masculine and feminine, right and wrong, good or bad. This is it. This is creation. And waves, just like everything else in the universe, is always trying to find that equilibrium, is always seeking balance. So we talked about, and I'm gone a little bit out of order here, but our vocal cords are almost like a reed in a clarinet or strings in a string instrument. The vibration of the vocal folds causes nearby air molecules to move, creating a wave of compressions and rarefactions that propagates as sound. This is how sound travels through the air to reach our ears. So it is influencing the air or the ether around us. It has a physical impact on reality. This is why what we say, this is how you can speak it into existence. This is why that's a thing. But the issue is that we are limited by our language. The principle of linguistic relativity. The way people think of the world is directly influenced by the language that people use to talk about it. So our language limits our perception and we don't see the world for what it truly is. And you can see how linguistic relativity affects all those things: color, time, spatial orientation, numbers, gender, objects, emotions, time, taste, and memory. So then taking it back to mental chatter. The issue is that our labels and our inner narration reduce actual contact with reality. So it's like our language has the subjunctive mode, I believe it's called, which allows us to express in what might have been or what should have. And it allows us to verbalize and make real, essentially, conditions that never did or never could occur. Some languages, I believe, don't have that. So when we're going off trying to label or identify things we think we know, we limit our actual knowledge of it. And this is a great time to do the listening exercise. Again, this is from the book. So we're going to go for another minute. Close your eyes and observe all the sounds around you. Now just observe how quickly your mind labels sounds, categorizes them, and assumes where they come from. Just sit there and notice your mind doing that. Now, go for another minute without naming the sound. Really just feeling the sound. Focus on the characteristic of the sound. Listen without having any words come to mind, just feel it. So what we're training ourselves to do is cease labeling and naming and identifying everything and just being in the full present. And honestly, when I did this, again, I was outside. I stopped labeling things and trying to figure out where all of them were coming from. And I felt literally at one with everything. All the sounds around me just felt like waves. It's like when you're looking at a picture And you kind of lose focus, like you just stare kind of blankly and the image becomes blurry, it like blends together. That's what happened for me. And so you can do this with your other senses. You can touch things, see how you're trying to label it, and then just try to do it without naming it. The smells, what you see. You'll notice that more things will start to come into your awareness that you previously were blocking out. Be conscious that you are making interferences in what you sense from the environment based on your prior conditioning and your memory, and develop the ability to be silent if you wish, to just exist if you wish. And that brings us to surrendering. In order to remove your old habits, you must first identify them and separate yourself from them. You must recognize they are not you. Surrendering control will silence your mental chatter. Your mind will not have a need to label things because you're now telling it that it's safe. Surrender equals telling the mind that it can rest. This is why we literally say a sound mind or a sound body. I don't think that's a coincidence. When you surrender, you can reach a state of pure being, you're fully relaxed, and you become one with everything. And you stop wasting your valuable energy living in the past or the future, and you actually gain more energy back when you live more in the present. I really can feel myself in an instant become more powerful, become limitless. When I'm stressing about something, and then I just remember that, boom, I can just keep my focus in the present. I don't have to give any of that power. When you surrender, when you let go of control, when you let go of needing to do things or force things, you can really tap into the natural abundance of the universe. Letting go of control and trusting the natural flow of life helps you move with less resistance. Instead of fighting with life, you start flowing with it. And if you're not overdoing things, you can conserve energy and then you naturally take action when it feels right and trust that things will work out. So we can stop straining ourselves unnecessarily. When our mind thinks about something we will do in the future, we create unnecessary tension. Like our body is responding to whatever we're visualizing in the future like it's happening right now. It's why if we can reach a state of pure being, of just flow, really anxiety and depression and suffering, it can't exist. And we become fully involved in life, fully showing up. We're not just involved with it, we become one with it. We're not separate from it. Remember the illusion of separation. We are all one. Everyone and everything is all one, but we have been sold the lie of division. We have been sold the lie that we are separate from our environment and those around us. But it ain't true. So this exercise from the book is called Every Minute Zen. It's just being fully involved in whatever task you're doing. Like if you're doing the dishes, you're eating, you're driving, just practice being fully into it. Notice when your mind strays off and just bring your focus back. No matter how little you do this, you could do this once per day, but over time, this shit is going to build up. Now, I will say that there is a difference between using the knowledge of the past and maybe thinking about the probabilities of the future and modifying your behavior in the present based on that knowledge. That is consciously using the power of going to the past or the future. That's not unconsciously if tripping, right? So we've learned how our mental chatter, our language limits us. We've surrendered. We've reached pure being. Because really, and I love this, you don't need to first quiet your mind before you can tap into the pure potentiality of silence. If you can find the place within you from where you can look at and see your busy mind, then you are already becoming free and more potential becomes available to you. All right, so we talked about how our mental chatter, our language holds us back. We surrendered, we reached a state of pure being, and now we can build on that. We can increase our sensory perception. With this, we can start to become of the energy around us, the waves around us, can start to become of things that are subtle in reality that we previously weren't aware of. First, we got to still our mind, quiet our mind, and the whole universe surrenders. because again, you become it. So again, do that listening exercises with other senses, practicing not labeling and just feeling things for what they are. You can use meditation to increase sense perception. Don't force the mind to be quiet, but just kind of let mental chatter and all the identifying, just let it flow out, observe it, and just choose to recenter in the present. Meditation should not be used to force silence, but you should just let thoughts pass like clouds in your mind. Don't fight with them, you'll give them more energy, just let them flow out. And sometimes daydreaming can be good, right? Sometimes fantasizing about the future can be good. It's like the source of creativity, it could be a source of inspiration. Or if you're really bored, like if I'm on a plane ride and I don't have headphones, I just got to sit there, I'm going to let my mind go off. It's going to entertain myself, right? But just realizing that you have the choice to control your awareness is crucial. By increasing sensory perception, you can get more downloads or wisdom from the field, from the universe. When you're meditating, you can practice shifting from being fully present in the environment to then being present in what's going on in your own body, like tuning into each part of your body, tuning into your organs, and being able to switch it back and forth. But we're going to start to get a lot more satisfaction and awe from life because we're going to be like, oh shit, I didn't even notice like half this stuff was actually happening. We're going to start to appreciate things a lot more. But we got to let go of our old habits of thinking and perceiving, just becoming aware of the entire field of waves around us, becoming aware of all of it and not just what we, don't block out. Finally, one more thing, listening to feeling. So we're going to be a lot more tapped into what our heart is telling us to do, and we know how powerful the heart is. But the heart or intuition is never going to scream at you. It's going to give you feelings. If our mind is turbulent, if we're busy trying to make logical sense of everything, then we're going to be closed off to its wisdom. But if we can reach a state of internal silence, non-judgment, it opens the channel to be able to sense that subtle intuition and whatever our heart is telling us to do. So when you're doing that meditation, you're tuning into different parts of your body. Try to tune into your heart. Maybe you can feel the energy that it's producing. Maybe you can feel the magnetic field of it. You can ask it a question and just tune in and listen to how it feels. And that'll be your response. Right now, a lot of us are being led by the mind, logical, linear thinking. But listening to the heart, I believe, is how miracles can happen, how we can break our limitations. But we got to increase our sensory perception, our awareness, our consciousness to be able to tune into and utilize that. So I want to end with one more quote. I don't know who quoted this, but when the noise stops, the world is no longer just something you see. It's something you're in constant conversation with. Everything becomes alive and you are finally free. So we started with mental chatter. We discovered consciousness. We tuned into all the sound around us. We broke the barriers of our language that dictates how we see the world. We surrendered to silence and arrived at pure being. And then we heightened our perception and our feeling abilities. So hopefully that helped you free yourself. Let me know what you think. I'd love to see some comments. Thank you for the support. See ya.